From Hasbro and Transformers Legacy Evolution, this is the GT Universe Sideswipe and the GT Universe Mirage, both from the Walmart exclusive Toxitron collection wave. The fun thing about these two is that they were both unproduced G2 figures. Despite Crocodile Mirage being one of the poster children from G2, that toy never actually came out. And as for that yellow and blue Sideswipe, I just think he looks dreamy. Looking at the box, I do really enjoy how you see the car here, very kind of cartoon Sunbow style. And then here on the side we have the picture of the actual robot and also the head. You might notice Sideswipe has a gray face there and a blue face there. I prefer the blue face. And then here on the back we just have the figure, and here is, again, they're using the Evolution art, but they made it look a little bit more Sunbow-ish, which I think is cute. And then over here you have Mirage. You can see you just have his F-150 mode. F-150, his F1 racer going towards us. You have him here on the side and on the back and the same stuff. In fact, one sec. Oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't even notice that you could get the full print. Okay. Yeah. All right. Why don't we get these guys out of the box after I just unlocked the most obvious Easter egg in the world? Getting these two out of the box, and I really enjoy them. Their colors pop so hard, and I'll be honest, this yellow and blue Sideswipe is really doing something for me. Now, I don't think this is going to be everyone's cup of tea, these figures. I mean, after all, they shelf-warmed pretty hard, but I do think they're really fun. I have issues with the Mirage. I'm going to say that right now. We're going to look at him first to kind of go over those issues, but man, I will sing the praises of this Sideswipe. Getting a good look at the figure's head sculpt, I think this is a great Mirage head, and I also really like how they made his eyes green. Like, yeah, it kind of blends in with the figure, but if you look closely, you notice the eyes are ever so slightly darker, and they did have some black lining around it, so they can be found inside the head sculpt. Alongside that, I don't know, he just looks a little bit happier than most Transformers. I know it's probably supposed to be a stoic face, but it looks like he has a tiny smile going on. Now, Kingdom Mirage is a remold of Siege Mirage. This is a repaint of the Kingdom Mirage. Effectively, Siege was Cybertronian mode, Kingdom was Earth mode. And I had the Siege Mirage, and I really enjoyed it. I've never messed with this version of the mold. But looking at the articulation, you have a ball joint at the head, you have a universal here at the shoulder, you have a swivel here at the upper arm, an elbow, flip at the wrist, a waist joint, a universal at the hip. You have a good knee that does kind of crash into some kibble down here, which I could also say about the ankle. You have side to side and back and forth, but it also hits the kibble just a bit. So, that's all well and good. Alongside that, no backpack really on this figure, aside from like down here on the legs. Like, the kibble is hidden very well. Compare that to Siege Mirage, who had a pretty hefty backpack. But you know what else Mirage had? A 5mm port in his shoulder. They removed it. So we look at his accessories. We have his iconic gun, and we have the missile launcher. Now, Mirage's missile launcher should go on the shoulder. Does anyone want to point out the issue here? Again, Siege Mirage had a port up here. That's what the backpack allowed for. So by removing the backpack, we've lost the ability to give Mirage his iconic silhouette. And I'm sure there's people out there who don't mind that as much as I do. But I'll say it, I would prefer a worse vehicle mode if it meant getting a more correct robot mode. I know the backpack was removed just to get rid of that weird chunk in the Siege Mirage's vehicle mode. But as a result, now you can't put the missile launcher on there. It's also really weird that this happened twice, because if you remember, when they made G2 Megatron, they did it using the Earthrise Megatron. The Siege Megatron could put the cannon on his shoulder. Earthrise Megatron could not. So now we are two for two, in that we have made newer versions of characters that are effectively the same mold, and removed a port from the shoulder before doing a repaint that would want us to put a port on the shoulder. If I had a nickel for every time that happened, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice. Sideswipe is a similar story. He's a repaint of Kingdom Sideswipe, who was a remold of Siege Sideswipe. Siege Sideswipe was a Cybertronian mode, Kingdom was an Earth mode. I just love the colors here, man. I really do. The blues, the yellows, the sunset on the hood. Like, it's hokey. Like, don't get me wrong, it's a goofy looking car. But there's something about it where I'm just absolutely mesmerized by it. Like, look at the head. Look at the head. I don't know why, but the all-blue helmet and the all-blue face and then the little silver eyes, I just enjoy it so much. The rest of the figure is great too. This figure's always had awesome proportions. I love the big beefy chest. You have a universal in the shoulder, you have an upper arm cut, a good elbow, swivel at the wrist, ball joint at the head, a swivel down here at the waist, universal at the hip, a good knee that goes that far back and that far forward, and down here you got side to side and a little bit of up and down at the ankle. You know what it is? I've just realized why I like this Sideswipe so much. Hear me out, right? He is like a safety figure. Like, this color scheme is something you would put on like a preschool toy in order to like make sure that kids could always find it easily, and all the pieces are so big to make sure they could never hurt themselves. There's like a very weird primal part of my brain, like my lizard brain, the part where little Babby Ronbon DeJohn is still alive. They're looking at this and they're like, that's a safe thing. I am comforted by this toy and its color scheme in a way I can't describe. It is visceral. It's almost like when you smell your home, you know, the home you grew up in, and you're in it, and all the things are coming back, and you're like, oh, this is safety. It's your little animal brain. Well, animal brain is telling me Sideswipe is safety. Him Sideswipe. Him friend. Well, let's give the friend some guns. So, Sideswipe comes with his rifle. We've had this for a very long while. Alongside that, the missile launcher. And they've changed this. The missile used to be able to be its own gun, but they've cut off the back of it, and now it can only be a missile. That said, it can go into either end of the launcher. That's all well and good. The thing is, I don't want... Like, you can still put the missile launcher up here, right? Boop, you can put it on either side. It works on either side. I don't think I like the missile launcher on the Sideswipe. Not on this one. I think it looks great on normal Sideswipe, but I feel like that's kind of messing up the silhouette I'm liking so much. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to just put it down here. Boop. There we are, in the 5mm port. And I'm going to do on this side. Actually, I think I'm going to just put everything on this side. There we go. And then we'll put the missile nowhere, because that's pointy, and pointy not safe. This is safe figure. I'm really worried this comes off like I'm joking. I'm not. I'm really in love with this Sideswipe. Like, if I had to make my top 10 Transformers, if I had to make my top 10 Transformers of the year list right now, I think this Sideswipe would be on it somewhere. That's how taken I am with it. Why don't we talk about vehicle modes? In vehicle mode, I think both these figures can really shine. If we look at Mirage first, you can see this is definitely a lot more crocodile inspired. There's really scales here on the green, and we got the crocodiles up here. The pink and green, they don't work at all together, but it's kind of beautiful how badly they mesh. In terms of weapon storage, we are able to bring the guns back in, and we have some ports here on the side that you can put them on. Boop, oop, well, there we are. And the same over here. Boop. And there you go, if you need an armed race car. As for Sideswipe, you have the same options, but with him, we have a couple extra ports. We have one here, one on the top, and one here on the side. I think I'm going to put the missile launcher here on the side, so it can be like a sidewinder. And then we have the gun up here on the top. There you go. I'm not really big on weapons on car modes. I'm always happy when there's the option, but I never think it looks all that good unless the vehicle mode's already like Mad Max style. But yeah, here's what I'm gonna say, right? Mirage is fine. He looks good. But again, Sideswipe steals the show so hard for me. Like, he looks like a water change car that burnt out. Look at this like grain through here where the yellow is slowly transitioning into the blue. And then up here, of course, you still have that tempo I really love. This is one of the best looking Transformers to my eye in the last few years. It's not for everyone. I'm not even saying objectively this looks good. What I'm saying is when I see it, it just makes me so happy. It's goofy, it's dumb, but it actually is impressive just how good that transition is. Overall, I would give Mirage a light recommend. I think he has enough minor issues both in transformation and in robot mode, as well as a less palatable color layout to make me not really as big on him. As for the Sideswipe, I adore him. I'm going to give him a light recommend because I know most people probably won't like him as much as I do, but this Sideswipe just really is hitting every note it possibly could. Notes I didn't even know I had. But it is playing me like a fiddle. I adore this little Sideswipe. And it's funny, I always liked Sideswipe, but these colors are making all the difference.